Spreadsheets. 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 Gray slacks. No fun. Seriousness. Dell Optiplex 9020. Business. All business. Schools and workplaces across the country, and probably even outside of the country, are loaded with these things. The Optiplex lineup of Dells. They're quick, reliable, stable computers. But they're all about business. No fun. You're not going to game on these things. There are no games in the workplace, in school. Spreadsheets. In fact, this model right here, and most of the ones you get don't even have a graphics card in them. But they do have 10 USB ports for all of your very businessy peripherals business. For all of your flash drives full of spreadsheets. You could configure this with a graphics card from Dell, but the one they put in here is, you guessed it, a business-oriented graphics card. Great for having multiple monitors, but the only thing you're going to be filling those monitors with is spreadsheets. Well, I'm going to save this Optiplex from its stuffy business life of spreadsheets and show it how to live on the wild side. Because Optiplex, you have the power inside of here. You got that 4770 i7 4th gen. All right? You got that. That's still a great processor, even in 2017. You got that 8 gigs of RAM. Oh, yeah, you got it. You got it. You can do this, man. But you just need to take a load off. Lighten up a little bit. And I'm going to help you out, Optiplex 9020. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to make you a fun computer. Unleash that power. So you can do something more than just spreadsheets. To help unleash that power, I will consult what is in this box. This box represents roughly $300 worth of equipment. By the way, the computer itself, got it online from Craigslist, actually. $230. That was a steal. That was an awesome price. $230. What's in this box, like I said, is about $300. So that makes this whole build that I'm going to be doing here like $530. So a $530 PC build. Go on PC Part Picker. Try to look up what a $500 PC build would entail. And you're going to be seeing parts like a Pentium or an i3 processor and 4 gigs of RAM and maybe only a mechanical hard drive, not even an SSD. But for $530, this build, based off of an existing Optiplex 9020, I think this is going to be a super value-packed, performance-packed build. All right. First problem. This very businessy computer, like I said, needs a graphics card. Doesn't even have one. But that won't last much longer because here it is. GTX 1050 Ti. Yeah, I know it's not a 1080. It's not a new AMD Ryzen thingamajigger, which you can't even find those. They're sold out literally everywhere. All the RX 500 series graphics cards, you can't find them anywhere except for on eBay for $200 above sticker price. So what the heck? But anyway, I'm going Nvidia. I'm going GTX 1050 because it's cheap, and I'm gonna keep this a budget PC build. It's only about $139 for this EGA variant, and it's still a really good graphics card. Come on, this is gonna offer really reliable 1080p gaming, so I can't complain about that. The problem is, though, to drive that graphics card, the 290 watt, very businessy power supply in this computer isn't gonna cut it. So I got a 600 watt, which it actually doesn't need that much for the 1050 only draws 75 watts of power from the PCIe slot, but I would rather be safe than sorry. Needs a little bit more than 290, but I just went 600. Nice EVGA power supply here, bronze grade. This will be way more than enough for what I need here. About 60 bucks or so for this one. But the biggest issue here remains Dell's very businessy computer. There is a proprietary connector on the motherboard for the power supply. They couldn't just use a standard 24-pin ATX connector like they did in earlier Optiplexes. For example, look up the Optiplex 7010. Now those use older 3rd gen Intel processors. This has a 4th gen Intel i7 processor. But the 7010s were nice because they used just normal 24-pin connectors, so you could just throw any PSU in there and then you're set. But this had to use a proprietary 8-pin connector. So if I wanted to use this non-proprietary EVGA power supply, what does that mean? Adapter! 24-pin to 8-pin adapter. Hopefully this works. Found it on Amazon. There's a few of these you can find on Amazon. About 13 bucks for this. Had good reviews. Everyone that tried it pretty much said it worked. So that's good. So yeah. This is the only way I'm going to be able to connect this power supply to this computer's motherboard in order to drive this graphics card. And also, you gotta have an SSD. Come on, it's 2017. You thought I was gonna use a mechanical hard drive? There is a mechanical hard drive in here, about 320 gigs. Already has a copy of Windows 7. I'm probably gonna clone that onto here and then just format that hard drive clean and use it as extra storage. And I'll probably upgrade Windows 7 to 10 because why not? 240 gig SanDisk SSD. Not much to see here, just normal SATA SSD. Not the fastest SSD in the world, but it's a frick of a lot faster than a hard drive. So yeah. About $530 between the computer like it is and the extra additions I'm going to put on it. For under 550 bucks, this is going to be one hell of a machine. So, without further ado, I'm going to have some fun. Put this together. Hope this adapter works and doesn't like fry something. Let's do it. Let's show you how to have some fun, Optiplex, because you deserve it. Okay, so here's the Optiplex with all the new parts inside. So let's go ahead and power this on. If I can find the power button. There we go. Oh, the power strip isn't turned on. You know, electricity usually helps to make electronics turn on. Ha ha ha. And you didn't actually think I was going to build a gaming PC without putting some RGB LEDs in it, did you? Ha ha. Look at that. I bet you there's no other Optiplex in this town that looks like this. Alright, let's talk about what we got going here. So first of all, that's that GTX 1050 graphics card. There's our power supply, our EVGA 600 watt, which is definitely overkill for this build, but why not? Semi-modular. And you'll see how the semi-modular, so there's no extra wires that I don't need, so there's a lot of open space for being just a Dell mini mid-tower. There's a lot of extra space inside this case. And you can see the power supply. This is the adapter for that proprietary connector. That's the 24-pin adapter right there, and it goes into the motherboard right here in the 8-pin connection there. So so far I've had this running for a few weeks and I haven't had any problem using that adapter, so I think it's fine. Also, something to keep in mind, the fans are also proprietary. I was actually going to swap out one of these fans for an RGB fan, but they don't use a standard fan connector. And I think they do make an adapter for that as well, but I didn't want to put any more money into adapters. The RAM. It's shipped with 8 gigs of RAM, and that honestly would have been good enough. But I wanted to take it to the next level. I put in 16 gigs of RAM. So I bought 8 more gigs of RAM, got that on eBay, found the exact RAM that came right out of one of these Optiplexes, the same Hynix RAM, $35 for 8 gigs, so that added $35 extra to the build, and also the RGB LEDs added about $12 a strip there. So as far as drives go, kind of hard to see them. They're inside their little enclosures. But the mechanical hard drive that came with this computer right here, just for some extra storage, and the OS is installed on. This is that SanDisk SSD where the OS is, and they're inside these blue little caddies. And there was actually only one of those, so I had to order another one of those on eBay. That was just a couple of bucks. But I think that's pretty much all the parts I had to add to this. The graphics card, power supply, adapter for the power supply, some extra RAM, the SSD. I get an extra little caddy for the SSD. And of course the LED lights. They're just magnetic little strips. You can pull off the back and stick them down too, but I didn't do that. I just stuck them with the magnets. Put one right on the edge here toward the front, and also one right underneath his lip here, along the side. I could take it to the next level and cut a hole in the side of the the case and put a little window. I might do that at some point, but for now, it's still pretty cool. As you might have noticed, I actually have these drives unplugged right now. And the only reason for that is I just have this plugged into nothing other than the power supply, just to show you the lights on. So I'm gonna hard power it off, so to avoid potentially corrupting anything, just to be safe, I decided to not have the drives plugged in. I don't want to go into Windows or anything, and then I just yank the power out. So that's why those are unplugged right now. And also the LEDs, they're just connected through a peripheral connection to the power supply. So that's another reason why, even if the power requirements aren't necessarily 600 watts, I didn't really need this completely, but the standard power supply wouldn't have had a peripheral connection for the LEDs. So that's another reason. Plus, once again, it really helps to have it semi-modular like that, so you don't have any extra clutter. And the original power supply would have only been, I think, 290 watts, so that actually would have been a little low to power this, and just by about 10 or so watts. But still, you don't want to have exactly enough, or it's always better to be safe than sorry when it comes to power supplies, of course. And 600 watts, that gives me some room to expand down the road, so that's a great power supply. As far as cable management goes, like I said, there's not a ton of extra cables in here, so it kind of helps out, but I'm not using that second drive bay, so I sort of just stuffed all the... Oh, I hit the fan there with my hand. I sort of stuff all the extra cables into that drive bay, and it really kind of works for sticking all the cables, because being a pre-built case, there's really no like under motherboard places to run the cables, but using that extra drive bay works. If I ever want to add an extra drive there, I'll have to get creative with where I stick those cables. You might have noticed the connectors for the hard drive and optical disk drive here, they're not coming from the power supply. The original power supply had no connectors for it. There's a port labeled on the motherboard here. It's labeled HDD ODD power. So optical disk drive, hard drive power. So the power for the optical disk drive and hard drives actually comes right from the motherboard in a proprietary connection. So that's another kind of quirky thing that Dell does. But hey, it works. And it also helps to clean up the inside of the case as far as cables coming from the power supply. So, yeah. So here's a look at the back of this guy. Power supply, of course. The port selection. Keep in mind, this is a very businessy computer, so it has some very archaic ports. VGA, but serial? What? And PS2 keyboard and mouse. Wow. Some businesses still use, especially like if you're using these in hospitals, I think some old like equipment still uses like serial and PS2 ports. So, hey, they gotta do what they gotta do. So I respect Dell for not being afraid to include some really old legacy ports on there. More USB ports. There's a ton of USB ports on this thing. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 on the back, and there's 4 more on the front. Like I said, a total of 10 USB ports. Holy crap, that's a lot of USB. Won't need dongles for this thing. And some display ports right on the board. But if you go down to the graphics card I put in, the GTX 1050, you do get DVI, HDMI. That's the one that I use because I don't have a DisplayPort monitor, but there is a DisplayPort right here if you have a DisplayPort monitor. And this card does use up 2 lanes, but there's plenty of room for it. This is not a big card. I got this. The EVGA one I got is kind of a shorter one. If you get one that has 2 fans in it, it might not fit. But if you get any single fan variant of the 1050, you're going to have no problem fitting it in there. And like I said earlier, I really wanted to go with an AMD RX 570, but those are not possible to get at all right now because people that mine Bitcoin and stuff like that have like bought those in bulk because they're so powerful for the price. It's such a good value. But if you're watching this later on and the RX 500 series of AMD cards is available, I would probably suggest getting that over the 1050 because it's about, I think it's like $40 more than the 1050, but it just like beats it pretty significantly in benchmarks. But the 1050 is still an excellent card. I have no issues using it pretty much every single game I've tried on it. I haven't tried a ton of games. I'm not really a huge gamer, but every game I've tried at 1080p maximum settings, it hasn't had a problem with the frame rate at all. It's been close to 60 frames the whole time, if not the entire time. So, yeah. So that's a look at the back. On the front, I'll show you again in a second here. There's your more USB ports. And I actually have Windows 10 on it right now. And that was the sticker that came with my GTX 1050. Sticker on the front, why not? Alright, so there's the front of it when it's on. You can see those LEDs shining through the front grille there. Looks pretty cool. Oh yeah. No more stuffy business machine. Just a quick look at the specs. As you can see, I am running Windows 10. I have the latest release with the Creators Update with 3D Paint and all that jazz. i7 4770 at 3.4 gigahertz and 16 gigs of RAM. Okay, so I do have some Rocket League going here. It's going to be hard to hold a camera and play this at the same time, but you can see about 60 FPS, and pretty much the whole entire time I stay pinned at 60 FPS. So no problem at all running this game on high settings, 1080p, and that's pretty much what my experience with virtually any game was that I've been running on here. That 1050 is a really excellent 1080p card for gaming. Sticking at 60 FPS. Okay, so here is NBA 2K17. This is definitely a heavier game, but even it performs pretty well here. So you can see we're It's 60, 60 right now, 59, and over time playing this, I've found that it averages in the mid-50s and 60 often. Every once in a while, I'll dip down to the a little bit lower in the cutscenes there, but mid-50s and or 60s, so definitely very good for this one as well, even though it's a pretty heavy game. And another thing, this computer runs quite cool. The GPU doesn't get very hot at all. The 1050, that's another great thing about the 1050 is, even if you did put an AMD, the newer AMDs in here, you might get more power for your money than Nvidia, but they're going to run hotter. The GTX 1050 only uses the 75 watts from the PCI lane, so it doesn't require a lot of power and it doesn't create a lot of heat. So you can see I'm not doing anything too intensive right now, but it's running at a cool 26 degrees right now. Even when gaming and doing some heavier stuff, watching 4K video. So the hottest I've ever seen this is right around 35 or 38 degrees Celsius. So definitely not a hot running card. Definitely cooler than what the AMDs would run at. So that's something cool to keep in mind. Okay, so, I mean, for what it's worth, I think this is a pretty cool PC build here. I know I didn't throw maybe the most high-end games at it, and, you know, obviously it's not going to handle VR or 4K stuff too well, but, I mean, pretty much anything, even super high-end stuff, if it's 1080p, it shouldn't really have a problem. So the total price on this, like I said, I thought it was a pretty good deal when I got on the computer itself. With 8 gigs of RAM and a hard drive, came with for $230 after the stuff I added to it. And if you count like the little extra stuff in the end, like the LEDs and the extra RAM I got for it, I'd say just under $600. So this is still an under $600 PC build. I think this is still a really great deal for what I got. I think it's very fun to do as well. All you need is to go look online, look on eBay, look at your local Craigslist, and it's really easy to find computers like this, these Dell Optiplexes, or even HP, the HP Pro lineup of towers. Because like I said, a lot of schools, like every 4 years or so often, they'll get rid of these computers because there's nothing wrong with them at all, and they'll just they'll sell them for very cheap, or just even recycle them and just throw them out, and you can find them. So yeah, it's a fun thing to do. You might have to add some, you're probably going to have to add a graphics card. You're not going to be gaming on an Optiplex bare bones, and a lot of times you'll have to upgrade the power supply to be able to handle everything. Now, if you go with something like an Optiplex 7010, it uses an older, those use 3rd gen Intel processors, but the 7010 does not have the proprietary power supply connection, so you wouldn't have to mess around with the adapter. You would just have to, you know, you can use any new power supply to plug right in. Or if you just use a lower power, like an older GPU, like the I think like the GTX 750 or something like that. The older ones don't use even, they only need like a 290 watt power supply or something. I don't know, you have to look it up for yourself, but yeah, just I think it's pretty cool to take a computer that was meant for the business world, no fun, strictly spreadsheets and stuff like that, and to kind of give it a little bit of pizzazz, make it a fun computer. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this, my creation of what I like to call the Opti Beast. Not a bad idea if you don't feel like building your own computer from scratch, or you just want an extra computer that's going to be a decent computer. Get an old business grade computer like this and give it some new life with a graphics card, maybe a power supply, and you can even add stuff like RGB lighting like I did. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Oh yes, one more thing. Spreadsheets!